Hey guys, I'm here at work. Pretty nice location. But I thought I would comment on the Jordan Peterson tweet about the Brett Kavanaugh situation. A lot of people are asking me what I think of Jordan Peterson's tweet. And, I actually don't think, this is my theory. Jordan Peterson's a very busy guy. So I suspect that most of his information about the Brett Kavanaugh situation has come from his friends. My guess is that he hasn't been paying particularly close attention to this whole thing. Because, to be honest, I really haven't been all that excited about the Brett Kavanaugh thing. I heard the accusation. I thought, okay, this is, even if he did everything she said, it wasn't really an assault. Just her interpretation of, a boy jumping on her when she was 15, she thought maybe might have turned into some kind of an assault. And so I thought, well, even if they do, find out that he was there or something like that, he didn't really do anything. So, he can't really get in trouble for this. He's going to get onto the Supreme Court. I kind of knew from the outset that this wasn't really going anywhere. So I haven't been extremely excited about all of this. I suspect Jordan Peterson hasn't been too excited about it either. So he's probably avoided watching the news about it. And so for those of you who don't know exactly what Jordan Peterson said, he said something like, if Brett Kavanaugh is confirmed, I don't know what's going on here, he should step down and let somebody less controversial become one of the justices. I don't really know why he would say that, except that he was responding to, I believe, Brett Weinstein had written something about how Kavanaugh was a spoiled brat or something like this. And I'd just like to say that I think it was Brett Weinstein, it wasn't Eric. I think Brett Weinstein's comment is unbelievably bigoted, really. It may not be bigoted against race or gender or something like that, but sort of bigoted against a particular genre of person, right? Like the rich white guy. And I've heard this criticism. Of Brett Kavanaugh on Facebook a lot, right? A lot of people are saying oh, I grew up with guys like him, I know what he's like. It's like, no, you don't know what he's like. If you grew up with guys that he reminds you of, then you have a biased perspective based on your own life, based on this other guy. Like I find that sometimes when I was younger, I used to go ask girls out. I used to go talk to girls. And every once in a while, I'd meet a girl who just really didn't like me from the beginning, from the moment she met me. And at first, I couldn't understand this. And eventually, I figured out some girls said that I reminded her of some guy she didn't like when she was younger. Some guy that bullied her, or some guy that she liked but didn't like, but the guy didn't like her back or whatever. And so we do form these preconceived ideas about people based on the people that we've met before, right? So if we meet some douchey bully type who is rich and spoiled, and Brett Kavanaugh reminds you of that guy, you're probably going to hate Brett Kavanaugh. But that's not really fair to Brett Kavanaugh because you don't know him, right? You hear the stories of him, and you're like, oh, that fits the MO of a guy that I used to know, so that must be him, right? But you don't actually know Brett Kavanaugh, so you're just assigning characteristics to him that he doesn't necessarily deserve. You don't really know him. So I think Brett Weinstein is being unbelievably unfair here, ridiculously so. He's being bigoted, right? Seriously bigoted. Man, there's too many people around here. I shouldn't be talking about this stuff. I think Jordan Peterson being friends with Brett Weinstein wants to kind of placate him and be nice because they're friends. But he shouldn't be saying stuff like that, because somebody who is controversial because of completely external forces, right? Something completely, you're controversial, Jordan Peterson. You're a controversial guy, right? You hold positions that I don't think should be controversial, but are to some people. Some people think that you're controversial. Does that mean that you have to step out of the public arena and let somebody less controversial step in? No, it's important to have controversial people in the public eye, so that the truth may rise to the surface. And yeah, he's in a position of power, but it's okay for not everybody to like people in power. Brett Weinstein obviously doesn't like Trump. He said some crappy things about Trump. It's something about him being a spoiled brat or something like that. But obviously Trump's doing some very good things for the country and for the world. So just because somebody is controversial doesn't mean they're going to be ineffective, or bad at their job, or you need to. I don't know why there's all these little flies everywhere around here where we're shooting. It's really annoying. But anyway, I was never like a huge Brett Kavanaugh fan. I didn't know who the heck he was before he was nominated. Looking a bit into his record, I've read some articles about him. He didn't seem to have like a hugely conservative voting record. He's a conservative. He's but like moderate, extremely moderate. So I wasn't like thrilled that he was going to be the new guy, right? But I was pretty annoyed with how the left was willing to utterly destroy a man's reputation and possibly his career, for their own political purposes. Like, to me, that seemed unreasonable. Everybody kept saying, oh, well, it's just like what they did with the Obama nominee. I can't remember his name. But it really wasn't. Yeah, the Republicans were playing politics. They were like, well, let's delay the vote until after the election. They did it, They got their Scalia guy in, which was great. Scalia replacement. It was just great for the right, which is great for conservatives. And the left is like, well, we're trying to do the same thing. No, you're not. You're trying to do the same thing, but you're trying to do it at the expense of a man's, career and dignity. The right didn't do that. The right never said anything bad about the Obama nominee. They didn't have to stoop to that, those tactics. I don't think they ever would have. I don't get it. I don't get it. This guy got a great opportunity. He's clearly been working his whole life for this, trying to be clean, on the straight and narrow. And he's done a fine job of it, He's got a wife and a beautiful kid, maybe more than one kid, I don't know. Talked about his daughter in the hearing, or whatever the heck that thing was. But I don't know why Jordan Peterson would be against this guy just because he was accused of something. Lots of people are accused of things. It doesn't mean that they did anything, right? So, and it's not a credible. One thing I really hate is the term credible. A credible. What does she call it? They call it a credible accusation. She's a credible person. There's a credible accusation. Something being credible is literally like the lowest form of believability, like the lowest level of believability. Okay, this isn't so unbelievably ridiculous that we're just going to dismiss it out of hand. This woman isn't a raving lunatic, so we can't just dismiss her. That's what a credible accusation is. It comes from somebody who's not so completely insane that we can't really take her seriously. But other than that, there are reasons to believe that she would lie. God, I watched this video. I can't remember who did the video. It's the Canadian woman who's kind of like a quasi men's rights activist, former feminist, university professor. I wish I could remember her name. She's brilliant and she's quite famous, but I forgot her name. Anyway, she did this video on how the environment at the school that Christine Ford teaches at is highly feminist and highly anti-male and really goes after this whole kind of like anti-patriarchal feminist stuff. And so, they teach stuff like that, that's like, okay, the men are guilty, women are innocent kind of stuff. Like, if any kind of little thing is a rape, kind of thing. And so it makes sense that she would be able to buy into this kind of nonsense and then go after Kavanaugh. So before I watched that video, I didn't really think that Christine Ford was probably lying. My suspicion was that she was probably telling the truth, but she just wasn't sure about who the guy was. But because Brett Kavanaugh is probably the most famous guy to come out of her school, she was probably just like, oh, that was, I think that was the guy, right? Because it's probably the only guy she remembers clearly as, 30 years later, because, he's the only one that's really famous. And it's always nice, it's always good to have had some kind of an encounter with a famous person, even if it's a negative one. People love that, right? I don't know what the deal is with celebrity and fame, but people love it, right? It kind of gives the story more power if it was a famous person. And she even said that when she told the story to somebody years back, she said, it's somebody that may one day become a Supreme Court justice, right? So she's adding some kind of weight to the story by making it Brett Kavanaugh. Right? She may have either convinced herself of that, or she may genuinely believe that because her memory was faulty, and she put him in the slot where the bad guy would go, and it made sense to her. But she might be completely making it up. That's kind of a new idea. I didn't really believe that at first, but I'm starting to believe that's quite possible. Right? She's got this she spoke in such a way that was like so sort of like frail and delicate, and I'm the victim, and it was sweet. And the reason she sounded so convincing is because she sounded sort of like sweet and whispery and delicate, like somebody who would be too afraid to perpetrate some kind of like false accusation. But I don't think that people like that are not necessarily unable to do dark things, right? Or incapable, I guess is the better word. Because her ex-husband said that didn't she like steal a bunch of his money or something like that, or her ex-boyfriend, she stole like a bunch of his money, and like she wouldn't give it back until he like was going to take her to court or something like this. So like if she's willing to steal a bunch of her ex-boyfriend's money, she might well be willing to do this. I mean, everybody's like, oh, she's so brave. She's not brave. She's not brave. She's going to get... Somebody else pointed out, like, she's a hero now. She's a hero of the left. She's definitely going to get a book deal out of this. She's going to be a millionaire next year. Next year, she will be a millionaire. She's going to sell a book. She's going to make millions of dollars. She's golden now. She's, like, set for the rest of her life because she accused this guy. She knew what was going to happen. I mean, she's not an idiot. She knew what would happen if this thing blew up, right? And this is like the best case scenario for her, right? The best case scenario, because he did get confirmed, right? So now he is a Supreme Court justice. So now she can write a tell-all book, and it's about an important person. Had he not been confirmed, it would have been worse for her, actually, because the book wouldn't have been as provocative. Anyway, the fact that Jordan Peterson's just willing to say this guy should step down because he's controversial, to me is complete mad. It kind of seems like somebody hacked his account or something. It's so out of line with what we would expect from him. So the only thing I can guess is that he doesn't really understand the case. He hasn't actually followed the case. He doesn't know the details. He just said something that sounded right based on what all of his friends were saying. I think that the intellectual dark web type people become a little bit too comfortable listening to other intellectual dark web type people. Because just because you're an intellectual, it doesn't mean you're right all the time. And I think Jordan Peterson is more willing to accept Brett Weinstein's ideas than maybe some other people because he's such a smart guy. But it doesn't mean he's right all the time. He's clearly incredibly biased. He clearly hates Trump. He clearly does not like this Brett Kavanaugh guy. He's got extreme biases here. And Jordan Peterson, as a clinical psychologist, should recognize that. I don't get why he's just willing to... I mean, he's willing to placate, I think, because it's his friend, right? But he shouldn't be. He should say, no, that's wrong. Or just not say anything at all. But I think he should have said, no, that's wrong. It's good that he's on the court. It's okay to have controversial people in positions of power if they're effective. If their ability warrants that position, right? If they're going to be good in the position, they should be able to have it. If things work out for them, and it did. They worked out for Brett Kavanaugh, so good for him. Yeah. So at the end of the day, this is the stupidest thing that Jordan Peterson, I think, has ever said. All right. Well, I guess that's it. I'm at lunch, so I should probably go get some lunch. All right, bye.